Our lawyers and newspaper editors will also be spending the afternoon digesting the implications of Max Mosley's victory. The head of the international motorsport, Max Mosley, has been awarded record damages of £60,000 after he was accused of taking part in a sick Nazi orgy. Joining me now is Dadak, who's a privacy lawyer specialising in defamation. Thanks for joining us on Afternoon Live. So does this mean we do have a privacy law in this country?
Effectively we do, though we don't actually have an official tort of privacy. But in reality we have a law of privacy which is being applied basically as a result of the European Convention on Human Rights, which is Article 8 is the right of privacy, and that is balanced out with Article 10, which is the right of freedom of expression.
Presumably the News of the World would say, what freedom of expression? Not been allowed to us?
Well, the News of the World have got freedom of expression, but the mistake they made was they expressed it all wrong, and they're paying the penalty as a result. I don't think this case has anything to do with restricting freedom of expression. If they'd got it right, or if they'd made an accusation which was justified, they wouldn't have anything to fear.
Shouldn't we be I mean, if we are to have a privacy law in the UK and all of the implications that involves, shouldn't that be something that's debated in the House of Commons?
Well, strictly speaking, if there is going to be a new official law of privacy, it has to go through Parliament. It shouldn't be dealt with by the courts. But the common law is, in my opinion, better because it's flexible. So our law of privacy, as a result of the Human Rights Act, which introduced the articles with regard to the right of privacy and the right to freedom of expression, the law is evolving, and I think that's a better way of doing it.
To what extent, or what are the implications of today's ruling, do you think?
It is true that certainly privacy now becomes a worthwhile course of action. So if you've got a complaint, you may think of suing for libel, which generally earns you more money. But the thing about privacy is, even if it's true, you still have a course of action. So there will be those who will want to seek compensation by suing for breach of privacy, and it's now worth doing, albeit on the whole only the rich can afford to do it.
This is not the first time we find ourselves in this position, though, is it? I mean, I'm thinking perhaps of the Naomi Campbell case.
Well, Naomi Campbell started the ball rolling with regard to privacy, and ever since then there have been a number of cases, and J.K. Rowling recently succeeded in the court in relation to having a reasonable expectation of privacy for her son when she was taking him for a walk in an Edinburgh High Street. So that it's happening all the time. There is undoubtedly a shift in the balance from freedom of expression in recognition of a right to privacy, which I think in fact the public want.
So what does that mean then as far as people like, I don't know, like Sienna Miller or whoever is concerned, and we see them canoodling with their latest squeeze on a yacht? Can those pictures not be published anymore?
Well, I think you'll find, Kay, that she's already taking action for just that. It was announced today, I think I read it in the news, that she is. So
let me choose a different case then, because we obviously don't want to prejudice that. Can the A-list or B-list celebrities no longer be photographed canoodling wherever and it be published in newspapers?
Well, no, they can't. If it's in a private place, they can't. And the thing about Mosley was it was obviously private. It wasn't in a public place. But even if it is in a public place, it depends on the circumstances. I think certainly that the law on privacy now, or the way in which privacy is being applied, of private information, is going to cause a problem for the paparazzi. And therefore the red tops are going to have a problem.
You say that, but do you think that that's what the public wants to see, or do you think that they celebrities become public property because they want to have a celebrity status, and there is also the downside to that celebrity status?
Well, I think we all have a voyeuristic part in us, but and we can enjoy other people perhaps in certain situations, but in reality I think it becomes a little bit distasteful when you are being pursued by paparazzi and they are targeting you. There's an element of harassment in it, and that's why I think the privacy aspect to claims now is coming to the fore.
And as far as Max Mosley is concerned, let's go full circle. If you were representing him, would you advise him to go for defamation as well?
Well, I think technically he could, but the reality is that he's already been, the whole action's already happened. So it's it's déjà vu, and I think the court would probably strike out any application now on the basis that he's already had his day in court. Albeit
Although
that
the payday might have been significantly more with defamation, presumably.
It would do, because ironically he's got an award which is slightly less than apparently the amount he spends per annum on his activities.
Should we leave it there? Mr. Dadak, just before you get me in any trouble. Mr. Dadak, thank you very much indeed for joining us.
Thank you.
Appreciate your time. Thank you. Let's have a look at our top stories, here on Afternoon Live.